a bunch of people actually submitted variations of this theory to me. And the theory is that Prim's name was planted into the reaping by members of the rebellion. Some people suggested that Haymitch may have been responsible, and this was done knowing that Katniss would volunteer to take her place. And also, some people said that maybe Peeta was also pre-selected for the reaping, again, possibly by Haymitch, because his feelings for Katniss were known, and they thought that could be, sort of a means to a means to the fire that would really spark a nationwide rebellion.
All right, who's going to debunk this or agree with it?
I think the idea that that everything is kind of planned is cool, but at the same time I don't think it's true. It's too convenient. And that would mean they'd have to look at a 16-year-old girl and a 16-year-old boy and go, yes, these two are going to be the ones to save our nation. And I don't think that's necessarily what happened. I'd like to think it was more coincidental and organic than that.
If I can jump in,
jump in.
I agree. I think that while it would be pretty mind-blowing if that were the case, I think that it makes a much bigger statement that Prim was chosen completely by the odds, that, how Katniss futilely, put in as many tesserae as she could, and yet her young sister, who has absolutely one name in the reaping, was chosen. I think that speaks so much more, loudly, as far as the odds of living or dying in that town.
I have Shyla's answer I wanted to read, because I'm still not sure on this one, but I wanted to. She wanted to contribute to this. She said, I don't believe it was a coincidence that out of thousands of names that Prim's single entry was drawn. She was to be the sacrificial lamb, the innocent blood that would break the hearts of the nation. Katniss says herself that no one can help loving Prim, and I believe that. Again, this is Shyla. She would have been the love story that was needed. The Capitol, the other districts, even her fellow tributes would have loved her, and her inevitable death would have rallied the nation against the cruelty of the games, because her loss would be felt in the hearts of every viewer. The question then is, who is behind this master plan to throw Panem into revolution? I think it was the same people responsible in the end. District 13, with help from the only surviving member of the District 12, she says Mockingjay Society, Haymitch. District 13 needed someone with inside knowledge of the rebellion of the Capitol, of the games, as well as someone smart enough to implement their plan from the inside. They also needed someone who could be contacted covertly. Haymitch, whose status as a victor, a mentor, and a drunk, fulfilled all of those needs, and the close proximity of District 12 to District 13 made him the ideal man for the job. It was Haymitch who selected Prim, the child of his friend and fellow revolutionary, to be the sacrifice. I believe that's the reason he was so exceptionally intoxicated on Reaping Day. The guilt of his actions must have been insurmountable without the help of white liquor. And that's Shyla's answer. So and if you don't know what her Mockingjay Society is, she talked about this previously, about Gail's dad and Katniss's dad being killed not because of not in a mining accident, but that it was planned by the Capitol because of what they were actually doing, which was trying to they were trying to talk about a revolution in the mines, and that they had started it, and that Haymitch was she's saying Haymitch was involved in that too as well. So, and that's where she said that she chose the friend of a revolutionary, and she's referring obviously to that that Mockingjay Society that Chad was talking about. So, anyway, I just wanted to make sure that her part got on there. So
that was pretty convincing write-up. I still think it's crackpot, but I have to give credit to that statement. I don't know. Has anybody been convinced by Shyla's eloquence? No. I don't know. I mean, I think the problem with a lot of these crackpot theories is that you could see a case being made that maybe it could be true. But the way I remember it, and yes, maybe Hamish does put on an act, but he also just seemed so drunk that day that he didn't even know the first thing that was going on to me. I don't interpret him necessarily as a mastermind as much as someone who, when sober, has tremendous capability but is so damaged that he just drinks his life away. That's just my personal take on him. I don't know.
I agree.
Theresa,
I think
you read... Yeah, go ahead.
I think he was drunk for the sheer fact that it was a horrible occasion in which he assumed he'd be given 2 children to watch die again. And that would make anyone drink a lot.
Right. That's my take. Theresa, I wanted to ask you if you've been maybe convinced by your co-admin over there at
Yeah. Well, I was reading it as I was reading it for. Yeah. Well, when I was reading it, I was reading it for the first time, and I've always, since well before Mockingjay came out, and there was discussion of the Pearl theory and different things on different sites. It's always seemed like it was too. How could Prim, with her name being in there once, how could she get picked? It just seemed like it still doesn't seem right. Whether Peeta was drawn for the same reason, I can't say, but I can see Prim being that she said, that sacrificial lamb. And I know someone on Twitter mentioned, what about Rue? Well, Rue most likely signed up for the Tesserae, so she would have had her name in there probably more than one time, where Prim only had her name in there once. So I think that the odds are just they're too insurmountable. And if Shyla can, she should link to her post on our forum about the odds that she did, and she did mathematical odds of how these victors were chosen and stuff. And if I think she should do that to the HG Fireside Chat timeline so that everybody can check that out, because it's amazing. And when you look at those numbers, you think, this is impossible. So it had to be something else going on. I have a feeling. I wouldn't doubt that, Hamish, he could have been involved in. I mean, look what everything else he was involved in that we didn't realize. So I think it's totally possible he could have been.
So maybe it's not completely crackpot. Most people aren't buying it, but it's not crackpot by definition. It's a plausible.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea if it's true or not. I mean, there's no way, obviously, of knowing if that is what Suzanne Collins was envisioning while she was writing it. But if someone told me, or if Suzanne Collins revealed this as fact in an interview or something, I wouldn't be surprised. But I can totally see it being true or being real or not real.
I think it's interesting it's an interesting theory, but I just personally feel like it's too perfect. The pieces fit too well together for it to be believable for me, and I feel like even though that Prim's odds were so low that she would get reaped, they were still odds. Like, there's still a chance that she would get picked, even though there are still thousands of people, in the reaping balls. It's still an odd.
Yeah, and honestly, not everybody is necessarily as poor either, providing for family members. So you don't necessarily know that everyone's putting in as many as Gail and Katniss are, who are older. They probably need it, but you don't know that everyone. And honestly, I'm not trying to act like it's an expert. It's not that crazy that she could have been picked. I mean, there have been, not to bring up sports, but there have been NBA lotteries where the team with the least probability, under 1% chance, has walked away with the first overall pick. I mean, this is why you have statistics. Every once in a while, the unlikely does happen. And we tend to call it, this is crazy, when actually, as Malcolm Gladwell argues in a lot of his books, this is just law of randomness.